Hi viewers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this tutorial, I'll be learning on how to make a 3-part corset with a perfect caging for a plus size. Okay, so we've gotten our measurements for the dress, the under bust length, the bust point. Okay, so my actual under bust length is 16. Okay, so but I made a minus on the down part. Instead of 16, I used 14.5 for proper lifting. Okay, so at this point now I'm taking my middle wideness of 4.5, 4.2, sorry, 4.2, which is the nipple point to nipple point, or bust nipple point here. All right, so and I'm making a minus of 1.5 on the left side, then 1 inch on the right side. Okay, I'm making a 1 inch on the middle side. Then once I get to the under bust, which I labeled as the UB, I will just stop right there. Okay, then I'm making a yoke depth on the side. I'm making a yoke depth of, I made a minus of 5.5. Okay, so on this dress, we don't want the cleavage to show. We don't want any part of the upper part to show. We just want it to be beautiful and not exposing any body part. Okay, so those are making a minus of 5.5. Yes, it will be very high. So at this point now, the middle side, I made a middle point of 7, while the sides 5.5. So I'm minusing the same 1 inch on this side. So I'll connect to my bust point. At this point now, go ahead and connect this to my bust point. Okay, so I'm just trying to confirm this. Okay, so I'll be using 14.5, like I said. I'll be using 14.5. Okay, so this is my 14.5. Okay, so my bust point, I'll be using 11, 11.5, and 12 inches, 3 points. Okay, so if you look at it, it has a 3 line. So I have to connect my bust point to my curve at this point now. Then I'll make sure I connect the lines so that it just be straight. Okay, before I'll go ahead and continue my measurement. So for the middle now, I'm taking a distance of 0.5. Then for the side, I have 3 points. I'm minusing the 2.5 I have to make a distance of 7.5 inches. So at this point now, I'll go ahead and connect this. All right, so this corset is actually for a plus size. She's very busty, so, and she don't want any part of her body to show, so we're trying to like get everything. If you notice, the cup is so large. So after this is done, I'll go ahead and take my basket line of 20.5. Okay, so this is actually a top. So at this point now, go ahead and connect it to the downside. Okay, so go ahead and connect it this way. So I'm trying to use my tape like to merge it. Then I'll go ahead and fold this and connect this now to make the lines face each other. Alright, so I made the two joinings, the one that are going out, I had to join them together. Okay, then I'll go ahead and cut this all out. Go ahead and cut it out exactly the way it is. Okay, so this is it. I'll go ahead and remove the yoke, the upper part. Okay, so then the front side, if you notice, the cup of the front side is not as large as the one on the side. Okay, so this one on the front side is the one that will be close to the yoke, which is the middle side. So this is it. All right, so this bigger one is the one close to the armhole. All right, so I'll go ahead and trim off all excess allowance. So once this is done, I'll trim out my basque. So okay, I followed exactly the measurements of the one I folded. Okay, so this is what we have when you place all together. So at this point now, I'll use the sellotape now to attach this to. Okay, So this is actually for our breasts or the corset cup. Okay, so I'll go ahead and attach these two together, making sure they come together. So this is what I have. Okay, so I'll just take my measurement from inside. I'm making a distance of 3.5 for the side, the middle 2.5. Then on the front side, I'll be going down by 3 inches, or better still, I will increase on the side 4 inches on the side, 2.5 on the middle. Then on the front side, I'm actually still contemplating on going down more. Okay, so I'll just go down, making 3.5 inches. All right, so this is what I have. So once this is done, I'll go ahead, use my scissors to cut it all out. So I'll just go ahead with the measurement of this. So once I've gotten this out, so this is what it looks like. So I won't let the sellotape tape to leave until I've gotten it on my main fabric. So this is what I have when I turn it this way. So I'll go ahead and place it on my main fabric. We add up a little allowance on the sides and the upper part, then I'll get all this. All right, so I've gotten for everything I want, my main fabric, my lining, and also what I'll be using for the cup. Okay, so I won't be using an already made cup for this. I actually have to construct one, all right, because the bust is actually up for a plus size. Okay, so this is how I joined this downside before I went ahead to attach for the upper part. And so these two parts now is just giving two parts. Alright, so I'll go ahead and attach for the third side, which will make it a 3-part corset. Okay, so remember the corset has its size and position, so I ensure I place this on its position, all right, not swapping any. All right, so I added plenty allowance to this, so that when I'm done sewing, then I'll go ahead and trim up the excess allowance. Okay, I prefer, instead of the fabric to be lesser, the fabric should be more than it. Okay, so I will just go ahead and trim it up instead of being in lack of fabric on my cup. Okay, so at this point now, just go ahead and pin up the sides, make sure all the sides are equal before I place, then start joining it this way. Okay, so this is actually HP Fashions GY. So if you find this video very helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, don't also forget to turn up your notifications button, so whenever we drop new videos, you get notifications and follow up. Okay, so at this point now, once I'm done joining this part, I'm just trying to put every part together. So once I'm done joining this part, I'll take it off and take off my excess thread. So when I spread open, this is what I have for now. Okay, so at this point now, once this is done, we'll go ahead and give it a very nice spread. So at this point now, I'll be joining what I'll be using for my cup instead of using an already made cup. So I had to use this thick, it's more like a foam bra, but this is actually very thick. I don't know what to call it. All right, so after sewing, join, I'll go ahead and top stitch the sides because of its thick nature. It's too thick. All right, so I'll just go ahead and top stitch this, and meanwhile my interface is still there. Okay, what I'll be using to turn up my sewing and all. So this is how I'll go ahead and make sure I top stitch every part of this. Okay, if not, honestly, even after ironing, it might not sit properly because of its very thick nature. All right, so I'll go ahead now to attach the third part of this. I also got it as a 3-part. Okay, so I'll go ahead and attach the third part of this, then trim up any excess allowance seen. All right, so I'll just go ahead and sew this, join this right away. So once I'm done joining, okay, So I'll just turn it all up, then also top stitch. All right, because I just made this top stitching is actually very, very important when using this type of foam for the corset cup. Okay, it's actually very, very important. If not, it might not sit perfectly. Okay, so this is it. All right, so I'll turn and stitch the other side of the joining. All right, so I'm actually stitching each side to itself. All right, so once this is done now, just trying to make this tutorials because I know a lot of us might be wondering how to get or how to make a cup for a plus size. All right, for a very plus size, for or a very someone who is very, very busty. So it's actually very possible to make cups for them without using an already made cup. Okay, so once this is done now, I'll make the two sides. This is what I have. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and use a chalk to draw exactly how I want it to be. Okay, so this is, I'm trying to confirm my underbust here is 16, and though when cutting I didn't use 16, but I'm just trying to check 16 and to know if my yoke, if I minus my yoke, I'll still be left with allowance. Right, so this is my yoke of 5.5 now, so I'll just go ahead and curve it out this way. Let's go ahead and mark it this way. Okay, let's go ahead and mark it this way and connect it. But after marking, I'll not trim up immediately, so I'll have to place that pattern on top to be very, very sure that is the same. Then once I'm very sure, then I'll go ahead and trim up this. Also trim up for the second one. Okay, trim everything that looks excess out of it. All right, so this is it. This is what I have for now. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is how it looks like. All right, so at this point now, this is actually for the second part of my cup, for the second side. All right, it's actually on a normal basis, it's actually a two-side breast cup. So this is what we have. So I'm done joining and all. So this is exactly what it is. So when I'm done top stitching, this is what we have. Then I'll still go ahead and top stitch this side, trying to make all of it to sit perfectly. All right, so at this point now, I've placed them and I've trimmed them. So at this point now, I'll go ahead and use my chalk now to mark out how I'm going to go about it. All right, when making a caging for this. All right, so I'll just go ahead and mark out how I feel I want it to be. Okay, so this is the first one. I'll keep this aside and I'll repeat the same procedure on the second side. So I actually left a little allowance on the sides because after sewing, if there is any excess, I can easily trim out. Okay, so that's the reason why I left some allowance on the side. Or if there is possible to join on the dress, it won't be too tasking for me to join it, and I won't end up trimming the bone. So at this point now, go ahead to place this bone on this. So in the bone aspect, on the sides or on the tips are actually very soft. So once I get to this side, I'll just cut off the bone and continue my sewing on the other side at the tip. All right, so when sewing on the tip, it will be so difficult for your thread to cut, except you're sewing at the middle part. Okay, the tip is actually very, very soft, so I'm actually using a sewable bone for this. Okay, So this is what it is. This is what it is. All right. So I'll just go ahead, take off my bones. So I'm actually following my lines, making sure that every aspect of this is actually okay. So once I'm done with this, then I will repeat the same procedure over and over. So at this point now, I'm sewing for the middle side. I'm sewing for the middle side, making sure the middle side. So I'm done with the middle side now. So I'll just have to go sew the cup round, because I actually draw a line more like a round shape inside. So I'll just follow the shape exactly the way it is. Okay, so I'll sew round and round. I'll sew round this cup. Okay, so this is it. Once I get to this line, I'll go ahead and cut it all out. All right, so I'll have to sew round again on the other side, making sure that I have all the edges, everything intact. Right, so if you notice, actually this bone, I'm actually sewing at the tip, because so doing it makes it so easy for me. So once I'm done, I'll go ahead and take off the excess thread and repeat the same procedure for the second one. All right, so I'll repeat the same procedure for the second one. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So this is the second one. So once this is done now, I've ironed my main fabric. So I'll go ahead and place the joining side facing each other to the joining side. I'll use my pin to secure this now. So once I'm done with securing this, I'll just go ahead, make sure every part of this are actually equal. I'll make sure I use my pin to pin it very well, so everything will sit perfectly. So once I'm done pinning and all, because it's actually very, very important to pin when making this type of corsets. All right, so I'll just go ahead and top stitch it. Go ahead and top stitch. So if you notice, actually my main fabric is actually more than this, the cup side, so I prefer making it more. So once I'm done joining it to my main fabric and ready to use my interface to turn it, if there's any excess, then I will just go ahead and trim it out. All right, it's so better for me that way, instead of making everything to be equal. Then after joining, you'll be looking for one side of the other side will be longer than the main cup. Doesn't make it better that way. Okay, so once this is done, I'll repeat the same thing for the second side. All right, so this is HP Fashions. If you find these tutorials very, very helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to turn up your notification button. All right, so at this point now, I'll be taking off my pins. All right, then I'll trim up this excess allowance. Okay, so I just want to top stitch this side, making sure this side is well stitched. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take off every excess allowance on this. It's actually very thick, so I've trimmed it out. I've trimmed it. Look at it, very, very thin. Everything is normal. So once I'm done, I'll trim out the excess allowance. So this is how it looks like from the inside, and this is the outside. So this is excess. Once I'm done sewing, I'll trim out the excess. All right, this is how it looks like. Okay, so once I'm done with the body, I'll go ahead and attach this to my main fabric. All right, then I'll use my interface to turn this. Okay, so this is how it looks like. All right, so I'm just trying to check if every part is equal. Then this is the minus I'll be making when I'm done attaching to my main fabric. Okay, so this is exactly how it looks like. This is my main measurement. All right, so I'll just go ahead and connect this way, connect it this way. All right, so see you next time in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.